biggest piece of advice I'd give you on the morning of your wedding is everything that can be done has been done. Okay? From a planning perspective, whether you have a planner or you don't have a planner, if you have your bridesmaids and groomsmen or your family looking after you on the day, let yourself fall into the day and enjoy it. Don't be looking over there, oh, that's not done or this is not done. I've seen brides doing that, completely stressed. It does not work. It transmits to the guests as well. So you've done all you can. Let it go. You enjoy your day. And if something is, no wedding is ever going to be perfect. And any top wedding planner in Ireland will tell you that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. I'm delighted that you stand with me, and I'm happy to be with you. And today we talk about wedding. Who will plan your wedding and who will look after you? And who is a celebrant? Did you know? You need to contact this person, Daragh Doyle. Dara, hi. How are you?
I'm very good, Tanya. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you very much for coming. I'm so delighted. Dara, you the person who doing wedding planning for how long?
So I've been a wedding planner for 8 years. Before that, I had a very different career. For 20 years, I worked in insurance claims at quite a high level. And I had great times doing that, but I suppose I never really loved the work. And I always loved planning events, family events for friends, stuff like that. So it was always in the back of my head that I'd like to do something like that. And eventually the opportunity for redundancy from the insurance job came up.
Okay.
And I took the plunge and I started out with Rainbow Weddings, which was specialising in planning weddings for same-sex couples.
Oh, well done. Yeah. So it was kind of because it was passion and you decided to go there, or you just...
Yeah, I suppose I had a passion for planning. If I was organising, say, a weekend away with a group of friends from school, stuff like that, I just loved putting it all together and seeing the end results, and got great satisfaction from it. And I suppose the weddings was something that particularly attracted me in because it's a very happy environment. If all goes well, people are generally very happy at a wedding and very excited about the lead in. And so like a lovely area to work in, but like planning is also hard work.
Okay.
So you have to be extremely organized.
I can imagine, my God. So tell a little bit about your background story. Yeah. So you came from what family?
Okay, so I was brought up on a farm and butcher business in rural Wexford.
Wow.
In the 1980s. So I would have had experience. I suppose we had quite a strong business with the farm and the butcher business at home, which I would have worked in from a young age with my father and my brother. And that gave me a very good insight into what running a business is like. Okay. And I would have been very involved in sport.
What sport did you do?
I played a good bit of hurling.
Hurling, good.
Yeah. So I'm still a big fan to this day, big Wexford hurling fan. I would have went on then to boarding school in St. Peter's in Wexford for 5 years. Did
you like it?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. It was a really brilliant experience. It kind of really set me up for life. Okay. And I had a little bit of, I suppose, innovation there in that I ran the school tuck shop when I was there. So running a little business in school as well. So that kind of all set me up. Went on to college then in Waterford. Went on to work for AIG Insurance for 20 years. So
okay, so I know that your family had a big loss when your brother got cancer and he died eventually.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, probably within weeks of me finishing my insurance career, my brother was diagnosed with cancer and it was terminal. And within a year, he had treatment, but within a year he passed away. So I actually ended up going back for a period to work in the family business just to help out. During that period, that's obviously a very difficult period for all of us. Life-changing event. Yeah, very difficult. But look, life has to go on. And I feel my brother around me all the time, inspiring me to live my best life. So,
angel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And also, what about your childhood memories? I'm talking about the good one that will maybe inspire you to be today who you are.
Yeah, so I suppose growing up in a family business, my father would have been a very successful businessman. And so I suppose being around, we were brought up on a farm. So we were out in the air all the time. We were exposed to working hard and going to sporting events, spending time with family, friends, cousins. We used to go to a nearby village, Kilmorkey, where we had cousins. We didn't go abroad for holidays. We went 7 miles down to the fishing village of Kilmorkey. So lots of happy memories there. And as I said, in secondary school as well, where I was a boarder, I made fantastic friends. That was a really positive experience for me. In fact, having a 30th anniversary reunion shortly, which I'm organising from secondary school. So yeah, lots of happy memories, but I suppose some difficult ones as well, in that, I would have realised, I suppose, at the age of 10, 11 that I was gay. And I suppose realising that in rural Ireland in the 1980s, when it was actually illegal to be gay, that was quite a difficult thing to navigate.
And how did you realize that is?
Well, look, I suppose it's difficult to define it, but I was attracted to guys and not girls. Simple as that.
Okay.
There can often be a stereotypical vision of gay people. I certainly wouldn't fit that, in that I would have been quite a masculine man playing sports and doing everything my friends did. I just happened to be attracted to guys and not girls. But eventually, obviously, we came to, I think when I was 18, David Norris ran a big campaign to have decriminalisation of homosexuality in Ireland. And I suppose that was the start of the revolution. But I was in my early 20s before I actually told anybody I was gay. So I suppose to hold that for such a long time without telling people would have been quite difficult.
Okay. And when you was ready to talk about that?
A big moment for me actually would have been, I was a big fan of Boyzone, the pop band. And Stephen Gately, who was in Boyzone, unfortunately has passed away now, he came out, and that was a big moment for me because he was really accepted when he came out, and that kind of gave me the inspiration. And I gradually told family and friends over time, and never had a bad reaction.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
My gosh, when family and friends support you, that is a
amazing.
massive.
Yeah, and I've always been supported.
That's great.
Yeah, and sure.
So guys, you have to follow your relatives. Your
So I would never have thought
support.
as a 12 or 13-year-old boy that I would have been running a gay wedding planning.
Yeah, gosh. No, it was
organisation.
tough. I can imagine. You
Yeah.
can't talk about it. You have those feelings and you don't know what to do with them. And plus, it's a teenager age when all hormones go up and down.
Absolutely, yeah. You miss out on a lot. Like I would have watched my peers, I suppose, going to teenage discos and stuff like that, and kissing girls and stuff. You miss out on all that.
A little bit.
Yeah,
okay,
it's different now though, because I think it's much people are much more open now.
Yes, again,
absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, so that is your little story about you, and today you are one of the leading, when I would say, leading wedding planner and celebrant in Ireland. So let's talk about the wedding planner. You decided to be a wedding planner. Did you set up your business straight away, or you was working for somebody at the beginning?
No, I set up a business straight away. So as I said, I started out with Rainbow Weddings, which was a specialisation in gay weddings. Now I did do a training course with a lady who would have been a very significant wedding planner in that time, Rosie the wedding planner. She's since retired and moved to Italy. But she gave me great grounding, and I would have gone to some weddings with her initially as well. And then I set up Rainbow Weddings. But like the wedding industry is a tough industry to establish yourself. And I remember my first clients came along. It's actually 2 grooms, and the mother of one of them contacted me that they were in crisis. Their wedding was in 4 weeks' time, having big issues with the venue. Can I come in and solve it? So it was a big challenge to start out with. Daniel and Owen, I'll always remember them. But we managed to sort things out, and they had a successful day. And that was the start. And once you do one, then things kind of follow on from there. People were quite kind, service providers and stuff were recommending me. And I would have went on then subsequently to launch Ireland Wedding Planner, which is my bride and groom planning service. Obviously the pandemic hit, and that was very challenging for wedding. I was lucky enough to have my insurance skills. I actually went back to do some insurance work with a great company called Right Way in Wexford during that time until the pandemic passed and we were able to pick up the weddings again.
Okay. Are you based yourself in Dublin or you?
I'm 50-50.
Okay,
I live in Stepaside in Dublin, but I also go back. My mother's still alive. She's nearly 90. So I spend 2 or 3 days a week, and also my nephews, my brother's kids down in Wexford, they live on the other side of the field to my mother.
Okay.
So I spend generally 3 days a week down there, 4 days in Dublin, but I could be anywhere in the country with weddings, particularly at the moment. In the summertime.
Right. Okay. Can you describe your job every day? For example, today I'm your client. I run you today and today's Tuesday and ask, okay, my wedding is now how many months? 6 months time. So what's going to be your answer? How you'll approach?
Yeah, that would be quite common. A lot of my clients for planning are from the States and Canada, and they have quite short lead-ins for their weddings. So generally I will receive an email via my website and I would get the initial details, and then we'd set up a Zoom call.
Okay.
So I would sit down with them on a Zoom call for an hour and get their vision for what their wedding is. So for example, they might tell me that they want to get married in a castle in Ireland. They're coming with a small group of 20 friends, what their budget is, what they want to include from the point of view of service providers, videographer, photographers, bands, cakes, DJs, people want different things, other things they don't want. So it's a matter of getting all that together. And I do packages. So I have specific venues that I pick and they're on my website, and I build a package, including all the service providers. So somebody has a very good indication of what the wedding's going to cost.
Wow. Can you tell us average budget for the wedding nowadays in Ireland?
Yeah. The average budget at the moment will be around the 28 to 30,000 euro for your average wedding.
Average wedding, how many people we're talking about?
Probably about 150 for that amount.
Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's more expensive, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it just depends. Obviously, you can go way above that.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
And you can do it for much cheaper as well. If
We talk about the average, whatever you can fit in and that.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Listen, when you organize wedding, when groom and bride came to you, or their parents, depends obviously of the age group we're talking, what the first demand they will show in you?
Well, look, I suppose generally when people are coming to me, they're either living outside the country, so they would have no idea what a wedding in Ireland, how to set it up. Or if an Irish couple come to me, it's generally people who are quite clever, firstly, because they're engaging a wedding planner. A lot of people think it's unaffordable and unattainable. It's not.
I will think the same to
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
It'll save you money in the long term, and it'll save you an awful lot of stress. So I suppose when Irish couples come to me, they're busy people, they have busy careers, they may have children, they don't have the time to invest in doing it all themselves. So they'll come to me, and the first crucial thing is to pick the venue and the date. And then to get somebody to marry you. So if you're having a Catholic church wedding, for example, and you want to have it in your local parish, you have to ensure that the church is available and the priest is available. If you're having an interfaith ceremony, a humanist ceremony, a civil ceremony at the venue, then you need to pick the person who's going to marry you. If you want to do a legal wedding on the day, you have to have a solemnizer who can actually be your celebrant and legally marry you on the day as well. And then, look, I suppose I can only be as good as a wedding planner as the team I have around me. And I'm lucky enough now as a planner and celebrant to have been involved in hundreds of weddings. And I've met a lot of people, a lot of wedding people, a lot of wedding service providers. And I suppose I've been lucky to find people that I can work really well with, like very talented people, like videos, photographers, cake makers, bands.
Big deal.
It's not just the talent, though. For me, it's that they work with me as part of my team and they're on the same wavelength as
And
me.
the same, yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people who may be very talented I can't work with because
different vision.
For example, you may have a photographer who wants to have the couple for the whole day, and the couple are not spending enough time then with their guests and stuff. So that's one thing that I really don't like.
It's impossible to have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes happen, is it?
Yeah, sometimes with service provider can be about them and not about the couple. So part of my job as a planner would be to ensure, okay, you're having the couple photographs for an hour from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
I want the couple back with their guests by 4 so they can enjoy their drinks reception before they go in for their meal. They can have some time together in their room. There's a lot of small things. Like another really good tip would be write up a list of all the photographs that you want taken at your wedding. Give it to me.
How you would know what type of photos you would like to get?
Well, I'm talking about the kind of structured photos, say the family photos, right? So, so the bride and groom would want one with their parents, with their brothers and sisters. So if you have a list of those done up, I'll work with the photographer and we'll get them done really quickly and save a bit of time for you that you'll have to spend with your guests or spend together before you go into your reception. Weddings are all about bringing all the small little things together. And that's experience.
Yeah, I can. Oh my God, I can only imagine. Yeah. You need to organize not only groom and bride to be on time. You need to organize all people to be on time who are just work behind. You not even see them, but they're still working during the whole.
So
day.
You'll often find at Irish weddings where there's not a planner involved, the groomsmen and the bridesmaid are kind of fulfilling that role of trying to keep everything on the show on the road. But it takes an awful lot of stress off them and you as a couple if you do either. I also provide coordination where I don't necessarily plan the wedding, but I come in and manage the wedding on the day for the couple. I take it over 4 weeks before. And that's a very reasonable service, from a cost perspective.
By the way, yes.
Yeah. So
because sometimes you need a coordinator who will be just direct to everybody what is going on.
And the other important thing to remember is the venue are not necessarily representing the couple,
That's true.
They have their own agenda.
Yeah.
So if you have a planner there, it'll also keep the venue in line. And I suppose since COVID, one of the biggest challenges that I'm facing as a wedding planner is in venues, in experience, just been a big brain drain of people from the wedding industry during COVID. A lot of people left the industry and it's been very difficult to replace them. So there's a lot of inexperience and that can lead to big challenges. And it's the simple things. There's a venue down in Carlow, Ballykeely House. They do it so well. They're young staff, so well trained. They have a smile on their face. They can't do enough for you. I don't mind an experience, but have a smile on your face, a positive attitude goes a long way.
Because you can coordinate them and
Yeah,
look after.
absolutely.
That shows how
Yeah.
professional you are. My
Yeah.
God, this is amazing. Because when you have, in my opinion, nowadays, youngish who would love to work and would have this passion to be there and hard worker people, but don't have experience and even have person who coordinate them, they will be lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can't learn
Yeah.
anything out of that either. It will
Yeah.
be disappointing.
And it comes from the top. So the people who are running the venues, to train, number
Have
one, to
to
get
look after
people
you.
with the right attitude who are suited to, some people are not suited to working in hospitality.
Absolutely,
you know.
that's true. We're all different, yeah.
When if a venue is getting it right now, like I'll bring my weddings to venues who are getting that right. It's like you may have a fantastic venue, it may look brilliant and all of that, but if you don't have the staff in the venue who can really deliver the wedding, then you've got a big problem.
Brides and groom, okay, can understand them. But what about the parents? Are they involved? They have their influence on them and keep their hand on the bottom.
Yeah, mothers tend to be involved
Okay.
more so. Not so much dads, I find. And look, one key piece of advice I will give to a couple is it's your day and your way. Your mum has had her.
By the way, it's
Yeah.
important to remember, guys.
Yeah, your mum has had her wedding, and your bridesmaids either have had their wedding or will have their wedding. So it is about you within reason. Obviously, people like to have the input of the mum, and often the mum will come to viewings of venues and stuff like that. But where it becomes problematic is if the mum is trying to take over the wedding as if it's her own wedding, or insisting that, auntie whatever is invited.
yes,
if
yeah,
there's
yeah.
not enough room, you invite the people who are close to you. We all have relatives that we're not close to, and friends that are close to you. They're the people that you invite. But like if a mother becomes overbearing, that can be very stressful on the bride. Now I haven't really had it personally. Heard a lot of stories on the
Yeah.
grapevine about it. But certainly if I did have it, I would be inclined to have a word with the mum and say, look, it's your daughter's day.
Yeah.
We all have to be reasonable, and if we're all on the same team here.
Guys,
and go for
don't
it.
ruin your wedding day. Follow
Exactly,
your guts. Follow what you
Yeah.
would like.
And
your
equally with
vision.
bridesmaids as well, because some bridesmaids can be a bit problematic as well.
Why?
They're not happy with the colour of the dress, or the dress doesn't fit them properly. So you just have to, for that 12 hours, it's not about you. You just get on with it.
Okay, to think about that. yeah. Okay. Listen, and nowadays, more trendy Catholic wedding or is more trendy civil?
Okay, so huge, massive, the biggest sea change in weddings in Ireland over the last 20 years is undoubtedly the shift from the traditional church wedding to the venue. So when I say to the venue, there's lots of different options available to have your ceremony at the venue. So different types of celebrant. You've got humanist celebrants, so they don't believe in the afterlife. So there'll be no religious or spiritual aspect to that. Purely civil, so they're employees of the HSE who work for the HSE. They only do weddings Monday to Friday. They'll come into the venue and they'll marry you, do the legal part of the wedding for you. Or then, like myself, I'm an interfaith celebrant, which is spiritual, religious based, but it's for all faiths and none. So you can have a mixture of religious aspects, spiritual aspects, and non-religious spiritual aspects. So I could be marrying somebody who's from the Catholic faith and somebody else who has no belief system whatsoever. And we incorporate both into the ceremony to make it a meaningful ceremony for the couple.
Give some advice, the final advice for the couple and the bride, except the advice that you give early on. Look after your own needs and your all, vibes and your vision, the way how you like to have your wedding. But what else they have to maybe pay attention to? First of all, don't listen to other ones. Follow by your own vibes.
Yeah.
What else? What you can advise them?
Yeah, so your day, your way. So are we talking about the wedding day itself?
Wedding,
or
yes.
The wedding day
wedding
itself.
day, yes.
Yeah. The biggest piece of advice I'd give you on the morning of your wedding is everything that can be done has been done. Okay? From a planning perspective, whether you have a planner or you don't have a planner, if you have your bridesmaids and groomsmen or your family looking after you on the day, let yourself fall into the day and enjoy it. Don't be looking over there, oh, that's not done or this is not done. I've seen brides doing that, completely stressed. It does not work. It transmits to the guests as well. So you've done all you can. Let it go. You enjoy your day. And if no wedding is ever going to be perfect. And any top wedding planner in Ireland will tell you that. If something happens on the day, I'm there or somebody is there to troubleshoot that. Life is not perfect, and a wedding day is not going to be 100% perfect either. So you have to let yourself fall into it and enjoy it. And that really is the key thing. All the planning is done up to that. You have all your people. They're all going to be professionals. You know, the people, your photographer, your videographer, your venue manager, they will do their best for you on the day. So just let yourself fall into it, enjoy it. It goes by so quickly.
Perfect. Okay, guys, remember, if you plan your wedding, you need to find their professional guy as Daragh Doyle, or if you decide to save money on their planner, you can do it yourself. But you need to remember, think what you want. Don't follow somebody's desires, somebody's image, somebody wishes, because one thinks, like a mother's, for example, they already had, as you said before, the wedding, or somebody maybe it's their dream to have your wedding. So be careful about that. But also enjoy this day. It's a day you do preparation for how long? 6 months? A year? By the way,
Most
Dara,
Irish couples will be 12 to 18 months.
and why
lead in.
that took that long? Because of queue to get
not
the
necessarily.
venue?
No, like generally, once people get engaged, they will be 12 to 18 month lead in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for Irish
This is
couples.
a standard.
Yeah, some will be longer. I'm doing one on Thursday, and I think I've been with them nearly 5 years. So
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It's a long time, of course.
the pandemic and stuff got on the way, so they had to reschedule a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. From that
So
point,
that's
yeah,
unusual.
that's unusual.
Generally, it's
but-
12 to 18 months. Engagements have got shorter now.
Okay.
So people want to get on with it.
And also, I'd like to talk about, nowadays I notice people organize 3 days of the wedding. One day it's introduction party. Maybe you will have different name, so maybe you call differently. I don't know.
Rehearsal dinner, yeah. Yeah.
Another one is wedding, and another one, not everybody doing it, not necessarily to do that, but some people just do this. So basically, it happens first the introduction, wedding day, and the barbecue day, or something like.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's actually one of the big trends in weddings at the moment.
Okay.
Wedding weekends.
Okay.
So as you say, everybody will arrive the day before.
Yes.
They'll have the rehearsal dinner. They may actually have a physical rehearsal at the church as well. And that kind of sets the tone. And not everybody will be there that day. It's generally immediate family
Okay.
and close friends. Then you move to the wedding day itself, where all the guests join. And then the day after, as you say, a barbecue. Some guests will stay on for that, others won't, depending on circumstances. But a really big trend is the wedding weekend. And it is lovely.
And do you think it's the right thing to do from your point of view as a planner?
If you have the budget.
Of course. We look about if you have a budget.
If you have the budget, I think it's brilliant, because the day before really sets the scene and you're welcoming everybody, and there's a huge sense of excitement. I see it all the time, because I would generally call in the day before as well. And then it kind of sets the scene for the next day, and then obviously the wedding day itself. And then it's lovely the day after to reminisce about what happened the day before. And, people like to chat and say, oh, that happened or this happened, and the DJ wasn't the DJ fantastic, or wasn't the best man speech terrible, and, that type of stuff. It's great to catch up. So if you can do it, I would definitely recommend
go and do it.
It really works well in the blank canvas or private hire venues, where you can actually hire the place for the 3 days, and you can get an all-inclusive package for that. Probably more tricky at your traditional wedding venues, where there's other guests and stuff. Can be done as well, but really good at the private hires.
You also do a celebrant
Yes.
service. Tell more about it. I don't know anything about it, to be honest, because I deeply believe that if you need somebody who will do even venue, it will be civil service kind of, or organizing from whatever office. And if it's a charge, it's a charge. So, but also you're doing for the wedding, for the funeral, what occasions you cover up?
Yeah, so I'm a celebrant for weddings and funerals. And I
Okay.
suppose just to tell you a little bit how I discovered Celebrancy
Absolutely,
maybe
yeah.
first, yeah. It was through the planning work, I started to see celebrants at work, I suppose. And the first wedding, again, that wedding I talked to you about, the first one I ever did, a lady, she ran into the venue about 10 minutes before, couldn't hear a word she said throughout the ceremony. It was over in about 15 minutes. And I just thought to myself, it has to be better than that. This is one of the most important moments of somebody's life. So I began to study it and watch it. And I actually decided to go on a 2-year training course then with the One Spirit Ireland organisation. That wasn't just to train as a celebrant. It was a life-changing experience. It was a really deep dive into yourself and, where you're at in your life, and how you can develop, and, because your personality comes through to ceremonies, and your life experience. Life experience is really important for a celebrant, because you can be dealing with a bereaved family. You could be dealing with a challenging situation within a wedding scenario where, the parents, for example, may have wanted the ceremony to be in a Catholic church, and it's not. It's in a venue. You have to manage all that. So I suppose the concept of Interfaith, One Spirit Ireland Interfaith, is that we do ceremonies for people of all faiths and none. So you could well have somebody, as I said earlier, from a Catholic background marrying somebody who's an atheist, And it's a matter of merging those two things. So we would have some spiritual religious aspects and some non, and they can be blended together. And then we tell a really important thing is to tell the love story of the couple on the day. So I would go to pretty much every couple where it's possible. I go to their house because they're in their own environment, and I meet them. I learn about their story.
To understand them.
Yeah, and get to know them, because it makes an awful difference between meeting a couple on Zoom and marrying them and meeting them in person and marrying them. You know, the energy, there's a big energy difference there. So like the odd time it's not possible, they might be out of the country or something, but generally speaking, 95% of the time I will have met them in person. And I would hope that transmits very much to the ceremony then on the day. Certainly couples feel that it does.
Okay, then it shows me that people who maybe will say, I don't need celebrant, still miss their beautiful ceremony.
Yeah, it's a really important point. The ceremony is such an important. People don't get it sometimes till afterwards, and they say to me, "Oh, I know what you're talking about now." The ceremony is the first part of the wedding. It's such an important part. It sets the energy and the tone for the whole day. It's a celebration of the marriage. There's a lot of fun things we can do within it, as well as the serious parts, and it really sets the tone for the wedding. So I would say to people, you know, people might be focusing on cost or whatever. If you find a good celebrant who's going to do a really good job for you, you will never regret that. So don't worry so much. Like the maximum a celebrant generally costs for a ceremony is €600. It will be money extremely well spent.
And as a celebrant, how long are you working in this field?
So I would have started the Celebrancy probably primarily just after the pandemic. I did do some ceremonies before that, 3 or 4, but mostly once I finished my training course with One Spirit, I would have started from there. So I'm either the celebrant or the planner. I can't be in 2 places at the one time unless I have a very small wedding, or might have to do a symbolic ceremony sometimes with the planning. But generally, I'm either one or the other. But I suppose for me, celebrancy is not like work. I'm very lucky that I found it. People tell me that I have a gift for it, so I have to accept that. I can't describe the feeling of getting into my car on the day of a wedding and going to do a ceremony. It's just like, it's a huge sense of excitement.
Spiritual.
Yeah, so I always get there really early, just because you have to manage the ceremony as well. Like you're working with a photographer, you're working with a videographer, you're working with musicians. You need to meet the people who are doing the readings, and just do a run through of everything. So I generally get there about 2 hours beforehand. I really like to be,
well done.
I just like to fall into the whole energy of it.
I like your attitude, my goodness.
Yeah.
Not everybody like you, to be honest.
Yeah. No, some people will turn up 20 minutes before.
Yeah, and don't care about,
No, it doesn't work, because that's my only task for that day. So if I'm doing a ceremony.
First tours, then the tours. And
you have to give it everything.
Half a day gone.
Yeah. And look, as we were chatting before we came on air, but amazing things can happen at a ceremony. And just to give you a little example of that, last Saturday, butterflies were very significant for the couple, in that in important moments, white butterflies seemed to be around them, including.
I've heard that.
Yeah, included. But it was just this particular couple. And the day they got engaged, actually, there was a white butterfly. They were walking along the river at the Boyne. When I got out of my car down in Athy last Saturday, I was walking towards the ceremony structure. A white butterfly flew by me. It was just incredible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's like, I actually told the story during the ceremony, and people might struggle to believe it, but it's an absolute. I actually followed it to make sure it wasn't a piece of paper. But equally, remembrance candles can also be extremely powerful during a ceremony. And people would have suffered difficult bereavements, like myself, say the loss of a sibling, and you have a family member coming up to light a remembrance candle. I've seen robins flying in. I've seen unexplained noises. I've seen the sun coming out from nowhere. So ceremonies really have an energy.
God, I can feel that now on my skin. Yeah. I can see you brought some attributes that you're probably using with your work. So can you explain?
Yeah, so this is a good example of the blend, say, between the religious and the non-religious in a ceremony. So here we have 3 candles. So these are the unity candles, and they would also be used in a Catholic ceremony. So the 2 outer candles here, they're lit early in the ceremony to represent the couple's lives as individuals and as a couple. And then after the marriage ceremony actually takes place later in the ceremony, they'll take the lights from those 2 and they'll light the joint one, and that'll represent their future married life together. And that's quite a religious tradition. And then we have a traditional hand fasting, and you can see here we have some.
I saw that is at one wedding.
Beautiful cords, multicolored.
Yeah, and explain.
Yeah, so each cord represents a different color, or different meaning. The color represents a different meaning. So to give you an example, say if we take green, that could represent generosity and kindness, for example, and each one has a different meaning. So we place each one and we explain the meaning over the hands. The couple will have their hands bound together like that. And there's a little story, like I suppose when you talk about weddings, you're talking about tying the knot, and that's what we're doing here. So throughout history in many different parts of the world, the couple will come together and have their hands bound, particularly in Ireland. Many years ago, where the Druids would take you to the forest under the tree and bound your hands together for 1 year, and you come back the following year to do it all again. But now, of course, couples make it permanent on the day. So that's a really popular and fun
That's
ritual.
interesting.
And you can also get family members or children to place the different cords over. Or if you want to get a family member to tie the knot, it doesn't necessarily have to be the celebrant.
Why? Is it again
Yeah,
some symbol?
it's a lovely way, like a really important thing to do in a ceremony is to involve your family and friends.
Okay.
Yeah. So they can either place the ribbons over or they can tie the knot. They can do poems. They can pour sand. Lots of different ways to involve people.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I have one more questions to you. What about the kids? Nowadays, it's very popular to bring the kids over at the wedding, or their groom and bride would like to have them over.
So are you talking about the children of the couple itself?
No, I'm talking about, if couple have children, of course, the couple will have kids over.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the guest, for example.
So no, generally speaking, I would find that the only children who will be there, obviously, if the couple themselves have children, they'll be there, or if their siblings have children. But like a guest, say a friend who's attending or a distant relative, they generally will not bring their children to the wedding. Now, it can be a political issue as well. Some people will want to bring their children, and sometimes compromise is required. And I do have a fabulous nanny service that I use. They're not just nannies; they entertain the children. They bring entertainment. They entertain the children for the day. So mom and dad can sit down, enjoy their few drinks, their wine, their meal, and they have that security there of the kids are being entertained and well looked after.
That's brilliant. Why I'm asking this question? Because after attending a few weddings for the last couple of years, we come across at the one wedding we've been invited with a child. We had a babysitter over there, but personally, I noticed you can't enjoy yourself. You can't enjoy the wedding because you totally concentrate, especially if the child's very small. I'm talking about it. Maybe if it's a 5, 6 years old child and over, so it'll be fine. But then we start getting invitation for the wedding that's saying no kids.
Yeah.
So that is a trend now. Is it correct? So people would say that directly, or we just come across those.
That's quite a clinical thing to say on a wedding invitation.
Okay.
Generally, what I would suggest is that you invite the couple. John and Mary are invited, so that like the children are not on the invitation. Most, I think, common sense people thinking will know, that's just John and Mary. It's not the children. Okay. But some people will go and ask, can we? And often it's perfectly entitled for a couple to come back and say, no, we're not. We're only having the children of immediate family only. We're not having any other children. And I think that's a very reasonable approach.
Absolutely. No. I'm just trying to understood that people now doing because they want to have a hustle, because try to have more smoothly ceremony going, or they think about the guest, or is it because of trend?
Yeah.
Basically just element of
it can be it is a mixture because some weddings you will see a lot of children, but more often than not, no.
And as a celebrant and wedding planner, do you like to have kids over, or they cause trouble?
Yeah. Well, look, as a celebrant, it can be quite a challenge if you've really young children there and say they're crying throughout the ceremony and stuff like that. That can be quite distracting. But like a lot of couples now have children. When they're getting married, they've already had children, and they could be anything from a baby to a toddler or to a 9 or 10-year-old. They have to be involved. So, and most kids are really good at weddings, and they might bring up the rings, or they might walk down the aisle. If you've got a baby who's really loud, then it's better to take them out.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Don't stay in a church if he's crying and use them because I'm activating
exactly.
The ceremony.
So look, you manage that as it goes on the day.
Dara, I know you're divorced.
I am.
So is it hard for you as a divorced man to be at the wedding and celebrate? Yeah. Basically, you celebrate the wedding with them. You're not just a guest there. You're not just a planner. Yeah. You're part of their
It's something, it's something that I really struggled with at the beginning. I was thinking to myself, well, how can I be a planner and a celebrant for weddings, when my own wedding came to an end? But I suppose over time, through my training course, that was really helpful, and then when I started going to meet couples, particularly for ceremonies, I discovered I was marrying a lot of people who had been, at least one of them was married before, and sometimes both of them, and you hear the most incredible stories.
Okay.
How people, they find love for a second time, I've had some couples recently who were together as teenagers, split up, married other people, and
back again.
got married, got back together and got married. So I suppose that's been inspirational for me, and I've learned over time that's life. Sometimes things don't work out. Nobody sets out to obviously go into a wedding that doesn't work out. But it was very challenging at the time. But it's like you heal over time.
Yeah.
It was my decision to leave my marriage, and I'm single now. Have been for 5 years. But sometimes you have to do something for yourself, and that might appear selfish and whatever else. But as I said, I've met a lot of people, one or both of whom are getting married for the second time. Life is short. I know that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Listen, we would never know what's wait for us behind the corner. And one more question about the videographer and photos. Nowadays, again, is it trendy to have a videographer at the wedding?
It's a key thing I recommend to a couple. Wedding surveys show that one of the biggest regrets couples have is not having a videographer.
Why?
Because it records the day. Like, I go back to my sister's wedding, which was in the 1980s. It was an amateur video. It's still at home. We still watch it. It's such fun watching it.
Really?
Yeah, it really is. And as I said, that's what surveys show. And it can be relatively inexpensive to have a videographer as well. You'll never regret it.
But would you have the videographer for the whole day, right? From the
Some
ceremonies?
people would just have it for the ceremony, and others will have it for half a day, and others will have it for the whole day. So,
it depends again what they
different
want.
packages available.
Okay.
But I guarantee you'll never regret it.
What about the band? Would you recommend to have a live band at the wedding, or you can give a DJ? Who's better?
That's a big decision, right? So a band is expensive. So if I come to a couple come to me and they've got a particular budget and it's a strict budget, it's a big saving not to have a band.
Okay.
So unless you're really into bands, like a band is going to be $3,000 to $4,000 minimum. Whereas you just have a DJ for the night, that's 600.
Okay.
So
Huge difference.
Big difference. Depends that some people are really into bands, and that's great. A band will generally come with a DJ, so you'll have both. But like there's some fantastic DJ onlys as well, and you can save a lot of money there.
Okay. And one more. What about the decoration? Again, when they decorate their venue, so trend nowadays.
Less is more.
Okay.
Yeah, less is more. So flowers obviously are a big thing.
Fake, artificial, or they would
most people will have real flowers. I wouldn't be a huge fan of fake.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive. And certainly I've seen couples regularly. I would have couples spend 3,000 to 5,000 on flowers, but you don't have to do that. You can just have your bouquets and buttonholes. A lot of venues now have flowers in them anyway. So again, if you've got a budget, you keep it minimal. Less is more. Like the more stuff like photo booths and stuff like that are probably gone out a little bit now. People are keeping them more simple. There's other things that have come in, like magicians are really popular now. Magician coming in after you've had your meal. People are not expecting it.
Okay.
Really good fun. People like to get portraits done during their wedding.
Entertainment,
Live
why
portraits.
not? Yes, yeah.
So, unique entertainment is a new big thing as well.
And a big thing now, okay. Yeah. Fantastic. We learned lots of things today out of you, Dara. Thank you very much. And I think our guest not only tried to talk about the wedding, I think he was trying to teach us as well, to show, based on your experience, which way better to behave yourself, think and organize in your mind what do you need if you're planning your wedding in the future. Yeah. Dara, thank you very much. It was
pleasure
lovely
to be here. Thank you very much.
To talk to you. Thank you very much. Guys, stay with us and you'll get more useful content in the future. Bye.